Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Shadowfire Promotions podcast, Front Row Ringside. My name is Greg Dennis. I am the president of Shadowfire Promotions. This is going to be what I call my half and half show. Why do I call it that? Because there's a couple of things that we've got to deal with, but most of it, since wrestling right now is pretty quiet. So it's going to be the few little things that we've got, and then we'll go and move right into the merchandise. And even better is that we've got a fantastic question that was asked a couple of days back from Rob in Georgia. So that is really, really good because that, it came just in time for this podcast. The date today is the 12th of October. It is Columbus Day, so there are many government offices that are probably closed. We are not closed, so that's why we get this podcast. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is going to be NXT, the developmental brand that Triple H is directly overseeing. I know this is Triple H's baby. This developmental thing is his thing, so he's looking to go and make that to be as big a brand as he possibly can, and he's going to go and want to show off to his wife Stephanie and to Vince and everyone that he can go and do an incredible brand and do things in a different way and everything. But so far, the only people that have really come in through NXT has been other independent wrestlers that WWE has retrained into their style. But they haven't really made an actual star themselves. So NXT is still considered a developmental platform, but yet they're not developing anyone. If you consider Samoa Joe and some of the divas, but most everyone has still come from the independent scene. So you've had Ken Anderson go through Ohio Valley when they were teamed with Ohio Valley, and wrestlers that have gone through Heartland Wrestling and all that. But right now there has not been any stars made from actually NXT itself. Everyone they've got, despite what WWE may think, all these people that have come through NXT to appear in the main roster, Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe and all these other people, they're all still were made somewhere else. So Vince McMahon and WWE and everyone is still basically relying on other promotions, Ring of Honor or other independents, to go and make stars for them. So they really need to do something different because they are not making stars. They don't want to make that, or I don't know if they don't want to, but they're not making stars. They're not making stars on their own. They really need to go and make some stars. Either that, or they need to figure out what else to do, because on another related note with NXT, I think that having NXT as a touring brand is not focusing on your product as a developmental territory. If this is a developmental territory, then you should be focusing on making new stars. You shouldn't worry about, let's tour the globe and become another touring brand. We had Raw, we had SmackDown, we had the new ECW, and they're all touring brands of WWE. But you still have the problem of you're not making new stars. Everyone has been a star somewhere else. They went and tried to attract a soccer player. I mentioned it before, several months back. We've had them recruiting rugby stars from elsewhere. So WWE is still looking to go and say, well, let's get someone really famous who's not in wrestling, and we'll have him, and we'll train him, and, we're going to go and train that person, and we're going to make him a wrestler, just like what they're doing with the Divas. Oh, hey, look at this great-looking bikini model. Let's train her to be a wrestler. And for the most part, most all these divas that they've brought in have not been doing anything. They haven't been doing anything in terms of they were models, and they might have been, terrific lingerie models, and I'm sure they were very famous lingerie models that were known throughout the lingerie modeling scene or the bikini modeling scene. So, if you're a part of that scene and you said, oh yeah, I'm a huge bikini modeling fan. I've got every single Victoria's Secret catalog that's ever been made. I knew this girl before. It's about time she was recognized as a star by getting out of WWE. But it's not like it's this person who had a desire and a passion to be a wrestler. And a lot of these women, in my view, go on WWE television. They go and, wrestle for a couple of years for WWE, and are probably more famous exiting WWE because WWE's helped them to make a name for themselves. But they're not famous beforehand. They're certainly not great wrestlers beforehand. They weren't well-known wrestlers. And with the way WWE kind of treats them is they kind of treat them as disposable in the sense of you work for WWE for 2 or 3 years, and we give you kind of lip service and say there's a Divas Revolution and all this, but the booking of the Divas really doesn't necessarily play to any sort of actual revolution, like we're going to treat the Divas as a serious division and we want, great women wrestlers. They're still looking for basically bikini models. So, NXT is kind of the same thing. They say, well, this is our developmental territory, and we bring in all sorts of guys. It's like, hey, who's that guy in the street? He's a head turner. He's someone famous from somewhere else, but they're not actually going to be famous in WWE. The people that are famous in WWE and are getting over, whether it be Kevin Owens or CM Punk or any of these other people, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, they're all stars somewhere else. So WWE seems to be, kind of paying that same lip service to NXT as they are to the Divas. And I say that because, again, there is no actual stars being made through NXT, solely through NXT. Now, that's not to say that I want them to have more people that they gathered from somewhere else and just make them into a wrestler, because that's not what I want, and I don't think that's good for wrestling or WWE to just grab a random person and say, well, hey, we're going to go and make this unknown person a wrestler just to prove that WWE can take anyone off the street and make them into a professional wrestler or a sports entertainer. Because that's not even the case, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. There's no reason to sit there and say, well, let's make just anyone a wrestler, because, God forbid, in World Wrestling Entertainment, could you imagine actually having wrestlers in here? This is entertainment. We're going to have Donnie and Marie Osmond in here because just to prove that we are entertainment, because we don't want to actually go and, have wrestlers in here. It would be stupid and ignorant to go and have wrestlers in a wrestling company. That's just ignorance. You don't understand. This is entertainment. So yeah, it's a little stupid with what they do like that. It's a lot stupid actually. And all I'm saying is that if NXT, if their purpose truly is to go and make new talent, are you really trying to make talent from no one? Or are you really trying to go, or are you trying to just recruit talent that's been made elsewhere and then say, well, this is, our star and we made you and this? Because that's kind of the same thing that WWE used to do in their 1980s expansion. They'd get someone at the height of his fame that somebody else made, and then they'd steal him away and then say, well, these guys are popular superstars. Well, no, they're popular because they're known from somewhere else. WWE's famous thing was they'd take the guy and then play him on WWF at the time, World Wrestling Federation, television programming, in the towns that he was most famous at. You take Roddy Piper and you play him in the, Portland area, and Hulk Hogan in, in Minneapolis and Wisconsin, everywhere where the old American Wrestling Association used to go and tour. So WWE has kind of consistently had issues with making stars on their own. There are some people that may be the exception to the rule, and I'm sure there are, and I'm sure that someone is going to tell me about that. So if you do, send me an email at podcast@sfp, like Shadowfire Promotions, incchicago.com, and let me know, hey, who has WWE made from scratch? Who has been the wrestler or wrestlers that WWE developed right from the start, that wasn't a star somewhere else? Because I don't think that they've done that. They haven't made a star on their own, as much as they keep saying, we don't want, these indie guys because they have bad habits they have to overcome and bad habits they have to retrain. So, whom has WWE made a star all on their own? It certainly wasn't anyone from the WBF. It wasn't Akeem Albrecht or Brockus or anyone else, because most of these guys flopped. Matter of fact, most all of them flopped. But NXT should really concern themselves overall with what they say they're supposed to do, which is to go and make new stars. They shouldn't worry about, well, NXT isn't making money, we're not a touring brand of that. You shouldn't worry about being this touring brand. That should be the dead last thing that NXT needs. They shouldn't be a touring brand. They should focus on training people, making new stars, and getting them set to go to WWE. WWE separated from Ohio Valley Wrestling and Heartland Wrestling and all these other places because they didn't want to rely on another company and support another company to go and make stars for them. They wanted to have everyone come right through their developmental territory, their own developmental territory, and be right ready for the big time. Be ready for WWE. We're going to make you beginning to end in WWE style. You're not going to have anything to, you're not going to have to, overcome any bad habits or anything like that. We're going to set you up for fame in WWE start to finish. And that's kind of the reason why they wanted their own thing. It's like, oh, we're paying them to operate and all this. We'd rather have our own place to develop people where we can get them right from the start instead of just getting them trained as a wrestler and sending guys down for seasoning, but we still have to get them used to wrestling WWE style. We can have our own developmental territory, which is a great thing. But, again, they are not necessarily building their own stars. They're still taking guys from Ring of Honor and guys mostly in Ring of Honor and Total Nonstop Action, TNA or Impact Wrestling or whatever. And they're trying to go and retrain them with a new name and a new gimmick and bring them to WWE and say, look at this complete unknown. This guy, Samoa Joe, we plucked him from the streets. He has never been anywhere else. He is a brand new sports entertainer. And you can't do that because, again, you have so much access to all this different wrestling. The internet and all that. This isn't the 1980s when the only real news was through the after magazines, Pro Wrestling Illustrated and such. Now the fans know where these guys came from before. So there's no secret that these guys were made somewhere else. So NXT should really just stay wherever they are. At Stamford or wherever. Quit touring unless it's just local touring, around the city, around Connecticut. That's fine, but quit trying to do a WWE schedule and say, we've got to be on the road 400 days out of that 365-day year. If we're not on the road 3 times a night, we have failed because NXT needs to be a WWE light. We're going to be the same thing as WWE. We're going to tour all around. We're going to take 750 dates a year just to prove that you have to be a WWE superstar. That's not getting them ready for WWE. First off, WWE needs to quit touring so damn much. They wouldn't have so many guys turning to drugs to go and, and recover from injuries because they have to keep going. I understand the notion of pay to play. If you're not playing, you're not getting paid. But, and I understand the notion that some guys would fake an injury. But for the most part, if you're seeing a doctor and the doctor is saying, okay, there's nothing wrong with you, then, hey, you got to come back. Come on back, start wrestling, or at least say, we'll give you X amount of days based on doctor's prognosis, and we will, we'll work from there. And, so we'll work from there, and we'll go and, try and work with your injury. But the notion of everyone has to be on the road 500 days a year, it's a lot easy. It's a lot easier, I'm sure, when you have the jet of Vince McMahon to do everything on. And I know that Vince McMahon doesn't sleep and all this, and he expects everyone to be just like him. And I understand that because I'm kind of like that. I work a lot and don't necessarily take loads of time off, but it's a lot easier to do this than it is to go out there and be in the ring and be getting your butt handed to you each night in the ring. So, NXT should just focus on developing talent. We shouldn't have to worry about, we should travel all around because that's what WWE does and that's what, is expected. It's shooting yourself in the foot. It's shooting yourself in the foot because you're not really developing talent. You're not really getting them seasoned in front of an audience. You're just traveling all around just because that's what WWE does and that's what WWE expects. If you really want to develop talent, then develop talent. But they're not really developing talent. At least they're not taking any new talent. They're doing the same thing they've done for the past 20, 30 years, which is take a guy who's famous from somewhere else and then repackage the guy and put him on your TV. I'm going to kind of stick with WWE here. So recently, Kane, like the Monster Kane, the Demon Kane, has come back. And it's about time, because Corporate Kane was a stupid character that's absolutely going nowhere. So it's a good thing that we have Demon Kane back. Um, hopefully Kane is still like the mentally ill Kane, because, you know, all this mental illness and the psychological scars he had and the reason why he wore a mask and all that seemed to be dropped, and he just became like a normal human again for a long time. And now all of a sudden, he's a monster with all these supernatural powers. And it's kind of the same thing as, when The Undertaker became a biker. And it's like, hey, I'm not a demon. I'm not a dead man. I'm a biker. Just a biker. I don't have supernatural powers. I'm just a motorcycle guy. Yeah. And then they quickly realized that that was going nowhere, and he, rapidly, it took like 4 years, but he dropped it and went back to, what I call the hybrid Undertaker at WrestleMania 20, which is kind of it's a hybrid. It's a combination of all the different variations of the Undertaker gimmick that he's used throughout. So, yes, it's good to have Kane back, and hopefully he's still like the mentally scarred Kane, but what happened to corporate Kane? Like, did he always have this power to change back and forth between, between Monster Kane and nice, sane Kane? I'm not necessarily understanding this type of thing. Was he always there at like that? And what happened? Like, why does he have powers now, but he didn't have those powers? And what happened to, what happened to him being like mentally ill and scarred and damaged mentally? All of a sudden, you had this human resources person on television saying, no, he is perfectly sane, he's perfectly nice. So what happened? I just don't get it. I mean, I think it's nice that Kane is back, don't get me wrong, because corporate Kane is limited as a character, and it's a stupid character, and I'm sure that many people have said the same thing. WWE should be less focused on, well, we're WWE. It's all about WWE. It's about Stephanie and Triple H and what we do for the brand. And wrestlers do not fight for titles. They fight for the honor of being in WWE. Everything focuses on WWE, the brand. We shouldn't worry about those two idiots in the ring fake punching. No, that's not important. What's important is what WWE does. It's the brand as a whole that counts, and what WWE does. And so we're going to put on this nice face of the company, and we're going to screw everyone that doesn't do what we want. And, it's the same thing, and I've said this on multiple editions. It's the same tired old shtick that's been done since 1997. Specifically November 9, 1997, with the Montreal Survivor Series. And it's lazy, tired, and dumb. That all these guys are all fighting for the honor of WWE and not titles, and, and if Triple H can just, randomly hold you down and say, well, no, you're not the ideal version of a WWE superstar because you're ugly and you're short and you're not muscular enough. So just fire the guy. Why are you not just fighting and say, okay, you're not right. Go somewhere else. Why tear down people? They did that to CM Punk. They tried to tear down CM Punk. They tried to tear down Daniel Bryan. And it just seems so counterproductive to tear down the people that you don't want to say, no, you fans are stupid, okay? You don't like Daniel Bryan. You don't like CM Punk. No, you really don't. We know what's best for you. We know what's best, and what's best for you doesn't involve liking the people that we don't tell you to like. And what's really funny about it is how, WWE constantly says, oh, we listen to our fans. Well, if you listen to them, then you wouldn't be sitting there saying, no, you're so stupid. Quit liking the CM Punk. You don't like him. You don't like Daniel Bryan, you hate these guys because they're small. They're not huge. They're not big muscle guys. No, you don't like them. You really don't. But it's counterproductive. Kane, as corporate Kane, was counterproductive because he went against everything that the character had already established since he debuted in 1997. So now you've got a little bit of explaining to do to how is the Demon Kane back? Was it always like just getting beat up and getting hurt, and that's all it takes? Gee, but what, where did all this stuff come from? So, WWE kind of defies their own logic at times, and I think that WWE higher-ups, I'm not sure the writers or the producers or Vince McMahon himself, just saying, you know what, that was last week. No one remembers what we did last week. All that counts is that the Demon Kane is back. Yeah, who cares that no one knows how he got his powers or anything like that? It's wrestling. It doesn't have to make sense. And that's wrong, because just because it's wrestling, you don't say, well, we're going to throw logic out the window because it's wrestling. Even soap operas have some narrative of logic. It might be broad leaps of logic, really broad leaps of logic at times. But, but the notion of, hey, we're just going to disobey every single bit of logic and say, it's wrestling, people will buy into it. And then they wonder why their ratings keep going down, 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 down. Because it does. It keeps going down. And WWE keeps going and saying, well, cheer for this guy for an Attitude Era. Look, the Dudleys are back. Sting, look at Sting. He's back. It's Sting. I still say that the only reason Sting came to WWE is just so he could say, you know what? In my career, I wrestled in all three major promotions that existed. Because he could never leave WCW to go to ECW, and he wouldn't go to Ring of Honor because that wouldn't make sense. That'd be a step down. So and at the time that World Championship Wrestling closed, Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW, closed pretty much about that same time. So there was really no place to go except for total nonstop action. And he had said that on several interviews, he said, well, I didn't feel that I'd be used correctly by WWE if I went. And, of course, it's been proven that Sting isn't being used at all. We put him in a match with Triple H for the WWE title, and then we expect that Sting is going to win. It's like, okay, wait a second. You mean Triple H battled Sting? Oh my gosh! And it's like, really? Really? Did anyone think for just a second that he was going to win? Really, did anyone think for even a half a heartbeat that the guy who is the face of Rival World Championship Wrestling for so long is really going to go and win over the guy who was married to the boss's daughter? Did anyone think you'd have to be really, really dumb. Let's just say for a minute that wrestling wasn't a work. Did anyone think for a second that there was a chance in hell, pardon the pun, no pun intended, of Sting winning? Sting could have had the entire WWE roster on his side, and Triple H still would have won because he would have somehow miraculously defeated every single person in the WWE locker room to make sure that he defeated, Sting. So it's a little dumb, to say, ooh, this is a big drawing card. Sting at WrestleMania, okay, I can see. But to sit there and say, well, this is your draw, and people are going to buy WrestleMania because they want to see Sting defeat Triple H and the potential for Sting to defeat Triple H. Sting is not going to defeat Triple H. There is not going to be any chance of Sting defeating Triple H. There's just none. None whatsoever. And anyone who thought that is really, really ignorant, because if you knew even the slightest thing about wrestling, there was no chance. Even when we did the Invasion in 2001, what happened? Well, most of the World Championship Wrestling guys, were kind of thought of as impotent and not on the same level as the WWE guys. That was no better displayed when Booker T confronted The Rock, and Rock said, well, who are you? You don't know a guy in a rival company, a guy who's up at that level with you, and you don't know it? How can you not know it? How can you not know who this guy is? The guy works in your rival company. You tell me that you have no idea whatsoever who this guy is. When every single person in the crowd knew who this guy was, and you don't, it makes you look like an idiot. So, given WWE's penchant, shall we say, for making everyone that didn't start in WWE look kind of silly and stupid, not someone that they built up, make stupid, then it's pretty much like, gee, who's going to win, WWE or, WCW? It's a little silly. So anyway, silly things that WWE does. Well, as a matter of fact, let's continue on silly things that WWE does. WWE loves to put in their documentaries all this ridiculous production music, stock music. You call it production music, basically music for license, just something that's, composed by a film studio. They can buy it. It's not, it's generally cheap. It's like stock footage in a film. Something you can buy. If you don't want to do the effects, hey, you can, we'll have the shot of a tornado, we'll buy it, and it's inserted in the film. And it doesn't necessarily look, convincing for the most part, but it's a suspend your disbelief thing in films. Cheap production music is available. You don't have to go and contact people for licensing rights or anything like that. It's all readily available, and you can use it. Boom, boom, boom. You don't need to create it. First off, WWE has their own in-house composer, so I don't know why they need all this production music. But second off, why do you have it over, not behind, but over the documentary? So you have a guy talking in his normal tone of voice, and he's talking in his normal tone of voice, and he's talking about this thing when, he's talking, and it's a normal tone of voice because, it's a documentary, and the guy is right there, and so you don't really need to go and do it really, really loud or anything, because, yeah, the guy is right there, and while he's talking to you in this normal tone of voice and everything, you've got something going on where this happens. So hopefully I got my point there, that you couldn't really hear what I was saying because you got all the music and it's louder than the person talking. So that's a really annoying thing, because they have these great documentaries they produce and they put the loud music behind it, and you have no ability to do anything. You can't hear the person in the interview because, hey, we got this loud music behind you. And it's very distracting when you have a person, and it's really a killer on these documentaries, that you can't hear what the people are saying because you got this loud music, and it's not even good loud music. It's just some cheap production music that they bought just that they, someone felt, hey, it'd pair up good. Oh, wait, we're talking about this dramatic moment. Wait, can we get some sad music? Can we play some sad music over this guy talking now? Okay, that's great. Now keep us having, now get it really, really loud so we can hear that. We want everyone to know this is a sad moment, so we got to play this loud, sad music. And that's their famous thing to do. I've seen it in every WWE documentary. They go and, have the loud production music so you can't hear the guy talking. And then they have all this footage that from all these different wrestling companies they've acquired, and they rarely use it. You've got all these documentaries, and it's like a 2-disc set of this guy and a 2-disc set of that guy. But if it's a WWE wrestler, we're going to have a 15-disc set. The Undertaker's had, at least 5 box sets. DX has had like 2 or 3. Let's see, who else had a lot? John Cena, of course, since he's the current Golden Boy, he's had like 3 or 4 box sets already. And they'll make lots of stuff with them. But you'll notice that very rarely, will they go and show matches from other companies. They can possibly prevent it. They really don't like that. They really don't like showing their interviews, the documentary portions of these interviews, are always going to be with WWE guys. Well, I didn't know this guy very well because he wrestled in another company, but I'm on the WWE payroll, so I got to talk about this guy. He was a good guy. Oh, yeah, he seemed like a real good straight shooter kind of guy. Terrific wrestler, good skills. Is that what you wanted me to say? Okay, do I have a script? Because I have no idea who this guy is. I've never met this guy in my life. This guy, started wrestling in another company. I wasn't even active when this guy was wrestling, so I don't know who he is, but I'm on the payroll, so it's more important to have me talking than have a guy that actually knows who the wrestler was, because guys who know him are from other companies. We cannot have other company wrestlers talking on a WWE release. That doesn't happen. This is WWE. We're going to have the Brooklyn Brawler because Steve Lombardi is an essential part of pro wrestling history. As a matter of fact, Steve Lombardi is obviously a wrestling historian known throughout professional wrestling for his vast knowledge of everything wrestling, which is why he gets to talk on every single WWE release, because he's very famous for his wrestling knowledge. Everyone knows that Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler, is a very famed wrestling historian, so he's the guy you always want to talk to. But that's really annoying. And they go and, we can't show the logo of the defunct companies, so we have to make sure to slap a WWE logo on it wherever we possibly can, because, you have to understand this is WWE now. So if he wrestled for another company, well, it's WWE. He wrestled WWE just when WWE wasn't WWE, and, it was World Championship Wrestling was WCW, but since WCW is WWE, technically it's WWE. So he really didn't work anywhere else except for WWE. Yeah, I'm confused too. Anyway, moving onwards, something when you view a lot of DVDs and tapes and stuff of wrestling, you go and see a lot of good and a lot of bad, and there's a lot of what I consider cringe-inducing stuff, and WWE is not the only one that is capable of doing some cringe-inducing type of stuff. That is very famous for the independents, and a lot of the independent wrestling loves to go and copy stuff that they feel WWE would do. So, you always have to have announcers that argue with each other, like Jesse Ventura argued with Gorilla Monsoon and McMahon. So you always have to make sure that someone argues with you throughout. So make sure, when you're running your own independent promotion, make sure you have announcers that talk to each other. You never want to have them talk about the match. They should be busy arguing with each other. Argue with each other the whole match. You never want to talk about the stuff that happens in the ring. WWE doesn't talk about what happens in the ring. You shouldn't talk about what happens in the ring either, because Everyone knows that the only reason people come to independent shows is because they want to see WWE done on a much tinier budget. You know, because WWE spends thousands of dollars, you know, on their show. So they want to come. People come and say, you know what? You know what I'm missing? I'm missing the opportunity to see Raw being recreated by people that, you know, are getting paid a fraction of the money. And that fraction of the money is, you know, given in the show. That's what I'm missing. I really want to see WWE recreated, but it has to be on a budget of $500 or less. Because if you don't do that, I am not interested. You know, so it's dumb. You know, you have your announcers, they argue with each other because that's what Jesse did. It's like, okay, yeah, but Jesse didn't let the arguing, it wasn't all the time, it wasn't every single second. He wasn't arguing with Monsoon or Vince McMahon every single second of the day. He wasn't, he didn't argue throughout the entire match. You know, he actually called the action, amazing as it might seem. Yes, there was action being called in the match. And, you know, scary, I know. Scary to think that that there's actually announcers that call the match. But there was a time when there was, you know, stuff being done. Amazing, though. But, anyhow, so, you know, you don't go and argue throughout the entire match. It's not right. It's dumb. It doesn't accomplish anything. You don't have to always have your, oh, you know, I'm going to be the bad guy commentator, and I'm going to talk down about every single guy. Jesse didn't really tear down every single guy, and it's like acting 101, or wrestling 101 rather, that you're not supposed to actually tear down the guy when you're the rule breaker, when you're the heel. You don't always go and tear the guy down. You're not supposed to tear him down. It's not the point of being the rule breaker. You have to build the guy up in order to tear him down. Okay, yeah, you're a great wrestler. Yeah, I know you're powerful. Yeah, but you know what? You're not as good as I am. And that's fine. But you can't go and just completely tear the guy down, because that doesn't do anything for you. And you know, I love how people are like, oh, I don't read anything about wrestling because, you know, I don't want to, you know, I want to do my own thing. But you have to learn from wrestling in order to do stuff. You have to learn. You have to learn about this business. You should be still watching videos and doing everything. But people kind of have this notion of, well, no, I know what it is. I have one bad guy announcer, and he tears down every single guy that's a fan favorite, because that's what his job is. Oh, and he has to argue incessantly, and we never, ever, ever talk about the matches, because WWE wouldn't do that. They would never talk about a match. And so, you know, oh, and the other thing, the biggest thing, never, ever use insider terms as an announcer. Don't say, well, it's work, shoot, blown up, you know, gassed, babyface, heel. You know, you see that, and it's one of those things that takes you right out of the moment. It takes you right out of the moment of wrestling and says, what is this crap? You know, why are we using these terms? And not everyone understands these terms. You know, people seem to think, oh, you know, everyone knows these insider terms. No, not everyone does. I know plenty of people that don't know all these insider terms and look at you like, huh? So don't do it, because it takes people right out of the moment, and really it takes you out of the moment of wrestling. And it doesn't show that you're smart or anything like that. It just proves that you're trying to be smarter than you are. But it doesn't actually help. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the promotion. It doesn't help anyone at all. all it does is drags down your promotion. And there are so many indie promotions that wonder why they can't, get looked at, why they're losing money. Well, I can tell you right now, this has been posted on the Shadowfire Promotions Facebook page, which is facebook.com/SFPINC Chicago. That's SFP like Shadowfire Promotions, INC Chicago, facebook.com. So this has been put in there many times. Don't watch WWE and say, well, this is what WWE does, and they're successful, so we're going to copy every last segment of their style, because that's the surefire way to do it, because everyone wants to go and see WWE wrestling done for $100 a night. I know I would love to go and watch Raw and then say, you know what, I hate all this expensive production values and multiple cameras, and I just hate that stuff. You know what I need? I need to see good old-fashioned WWE done for $100. I want to see a backyard video of WWE. That's what really excites me. I think that's what needs to be done. Because no one cares and no one's going to want to see it. So that's just being stupid. That's being really, that's just really not accomplishing anything whatsoever. It's hurting your product more than it helps your product, completely. Let's see. So, Halls of Fame. Ever since the WWE had their Hall of Fame, everyone wants to have a Hall of Fame. They say, we need to have a Hall of Fame. You don't have to have a Hall of Fame. You don't have to have a Hall of Fame because, you don't actually, no one cares about, your small independent promotion or your small radio broadcast, and they don't care who you put in your Hall of Fame. They really, really don't. Don't care for a second, who's in your Hall of Fame. No one cares. If you want to have a Hall of Fame with, your wrestlers and say, this is our, independent promotions Hall of Fame. We're going to do, Hall of Fame where we're going to celebrate our wrestlers and our talent and that's cool. And hey, if you have a reason for it, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have a Hall of Fame saying, well, we're going to go and induct this person into our Hall of Fame, no one cares. Especially if it's like, well, because WWE inducted the Ultimate Warrior into their Hall of Fame, my promotion, Dennis Wrestling Enterprises, I am officially inducting the Ultimate Warrior into our Hall of Fame. And your Hall of Fame is, your Hall of Fame is even more useless than the WWE's Hall of Fame, because even less people care about your Hall of Fame than they do WWE's. This is something that I know that people would go and say, wait a minute, how can that be true? It's true. No one cares. No one cares anything in the slightest about your little, promotion, whatever, and who's in their Hall of Fame. If you want to have your wrestling promotion be for your talent, to put them in your Hall of Fame, that's terrific. That's great. I encourage that. But to have a Hall of Fame for, it's like, this is my website, and this is my Hall of Fame. Why? Who cares? No one cares who you induct into the Hall of Fame. Because you have a more worthless Hall of Fame than any other Hall of Fame. Because WWE won't induct Randy Savage into their Hall of Fame, I'm going to induct him into my Hall of Fame. I'm sure if Randy were alive, he'd just be beaming with pleasure that some unknown website has decided to induct him into their Hall of Fame. I'm sure that, he would just be bursting with pride. Anyhow, what I would like to talk about next before we move to merchandise, this is actually the last thing that we're going to talk about before we move into the merchandise, but this is something that was given to me from Rob in Georgia. And the question is, and I'm going to read the entire email that was sent, but the base question is, in your opinion, has the overall attitude from the WWE on down to the indies regarding size and physique changed? And the full email is, in your opinion, has the overall attitude from the WWE on down to the indies regarding size and physique changed? It certainly seems so to me. For years, the WWE didn't even look at the indies, which was heavily populated by short and skinny guys or guys who are naturally big but not ripped. The WWE found athletes in other sports, male models, bodybuilders, etc., and trained them to wrestle, often with less than stellar results. For years, everyone in the WWE looked the same. They were all tall, jacked, and had long hair. They would hire the occasional super heavyweight, quote, fatty, as a heel for Hogan, but that was the exception. One of the results of this, it seems, was the indie guys got in better shape. They were still shorter, I think, than the WWE liked, but the upside was that the guys already knew how to run ropes and take a bump and didn't start from scratch. The flip side of that is that while the indie guys already knew their way around the ring, they had to be, quote, retrained in the WWE style, and my reading leads me to believe this is why some guys didn't make it. They didn't take to their retraining well, i.e. the old dog new tricks maxim. To take that a step further, it seems that the WWE has had an attitude change in that area as well. Indie guys are allowed to keep more of their own style rather than having every bit of it sucked out of them. That seems to account for the success of Punk, Danielson, Steen, Finn Balor, etc. Now, that doesn't mean the product is any better, but I blame the writers and McMahon's stubbornness for that. I wonder if it will get even better when HHH and Steph are 100% in charge after VCAM steps down, passes, or worse. Rob, great question. This is a multi-part question, so it's going to get a multi-part answer. Has the overall attitude regarding size and physique changed? Yes, is the simple answer, because they've had to, because Vince McMahon and WWE, by extension, are so much more in the public spotlight that they've had to go and change what they're, what type of people they're looking for, especially after Vince McMahon's steroid trial, because he really doesn't want to, have his company really scrutinized heavily for guys who are obviously using steroids that he does not want. So what you need to do with that is he's and also it's kind of hard to find guys that are like that as well. Guys who are like super duper huge. So, and also the wrestling in general has changed. The product has changed. You can't always have people who are super jacked standing around looking really great when they pose, because the modern wrestling fan is looking for something different. They're looking for something different in they're looking for something they don't want the two guys just standing around, Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior WrestleMania 6. They don't want to just see that. They want to see, some action, some high flying, stuff like that. They can't no longer have two big hulking guys just punching each other in the center ring and expect people to not be like, okay, boring. It's kind of the notion of when wrestling changed from, to have shorter matches where you don't have a half an hour of a guy in a headlock. For half an hour, this guy's in a headlock. And then, oh my gosh, the headlock, he's reversed the headlock! For another 30 minutes. You know, it's great when you had 3 hours of one match, but no one is willing to sit through that kind of thing anymore. So you have to kind of change the style of wrestling to begin with to accommodate that. And there's not, I mean, any gym rat can probably find someone who can get them any sort of steroids or growth hormone or anything like that. It's possible to completely to do that, but you know they and yes, WWE has found athletes in other sports to use and train them to wrestle. Most of the time, it's been with less than stellar results, but keep in mind that a lot of these guys have indeed come from other wrestling promotions. They've all came from other promotions, but they just didn't tell you that. So, you know, Demolition, Axe and Smash, Hulk Hogan, Earthquake, Typhoon, Hercules, all these other guys, they came from other promotions. That's not to say that WWE still doesn't try to look for athletes in other sports to come, but they mainly focused on the other guys who were trained. They do have, you know, the super heavyweights, your Earthquakes, your Typhoons and stuff, but really, Vince's big thing is, you know, and this is why Triple H is, Triple H is Stephanie's husband, because he represents the kind of person that Stephanie has been exposed to her entire life. Tall, blonde, jacked guys. So, if that's what she's been exposed to, you know, she's naturally going to fall in love with someone who's got that type of thing. You know, the guys who achieve the most stardom are the tall, blonde, jacked, the Hogans, you know, your Ultimate Warrior with the long hair and the big muscles, you know, because that was what Vince McMahon liked. He liked those guys with the big, jacked physiques. So, yeah. It's a different style. You can't always go and have that sort of thing. You know, these huge, big bodybuilders just stand around and pose. Vince McMahon still likes that, as you can tell by, you know, your Rybacks and your Rusevs and other guys. He still likes the big, huge, jacked guys. But you're not going to have every single guy in wrestling. It's not always going to be 6'5" and 250 pounds and just completely ripped. I've seen a couple of guys like that in the independent scene. Some had personality, some didn't. Some could wrestle, some couldn't. Some of them, again, were great to stand there and look at, but unfortunately when I got them in the ring, they were absolutely nothing. There was one guy I remember specifically. I can't even remember his name off the top of my head. I'm sure he worked all around the Midwest. Marco Styles. He was short. He was kind of muscular. I'm not saying he wasn't a muscular guy. He was reasonably short. He was only about maybe a little below 6 feet and had all the personality of a sheet of toilet paper. And I'm thinking, why in the world is this guy even getting a chance? Yeah, he's built, he's jacked, but, you know, he's got absolutely no personality to speak of. But, you know, and these guys are not really going to get a chance at WWE. So, yeah, for years, everyone in WWE looked the same. Tall, jacked, long hair, because that's what Vince McMahon really likes. The independents do tend to follow the WWE in that sense, but also there's better conditioning. There's plenty of guys, the independents that I've seen, that are, you know, relatively short and skinny, looks like they could use a cheeseburger or at least find out what the inside of a gym looks like. And some guys think that, oh, it's my gimmick that I'm short and skinny. You know, it's my gimmick that I don't go to the gym and I've never, you know, worked out and I'm like perpetually on a diet. You know, it's like kind of a Karen Carpenter of male wrestlers. Like, I'm supposed to be skinny. I can't go to the gym and lift weights. That's not my gimmick. My gimmick is I'm supposed to be really skinny and look like I'm 12. And, you know, the other one that's like, oh, it's my gimmick that I'm fat. You know, that was actually the thing with, like, Buddy Rose for a while. Like, oh, it was a gimmick that Buddy Rose was fat. That's like his gimmick. Okay. And WWE kind of tried to take advantage of that, making fun of him for being fat. Just like they made fun of Adrian Adonis when he started gaining weight and made him dress up like a woman. But, you know, so there's always going to be a mix on the independent circuit of guys who are going to be big and jacked and short and not jacked and, you know, skinny and tall and skinny. I mean, there'd be guys who are like 6'3" and still weigh 135 pounds. And, you know, they're going to try and portray, well, this guy's like 220 pounds. Like, where? It's not his head. Certainly not his muscles. You know, because, hey, this guy looks like he's about 120 pounds. So, yeah. The independents, the thing is with retraining them in the WWE style, I'm not sure if they didn't make it because they didn't retrain well, or some did. I know that was the something with some of the old World Championship Wrestling guys when they went to WWE after World Championship Wrestling collapsed. And some of them didn't like being kind of sent down to the independents to sort of pay their dues again and, you know, be WWE. But WWE is funny because it's not always about ring work for WWE. WWE kind of looks at different things, and maybe sometimes they don't. Maybe they sometimes just don't fit what WWE is looking for. They may not, you know, handled being retrained so well. It's certainly possible. Maybe they just, you know, someone that like Chris Hero clearly had what it takes, but for whatever reason they settled him with a silly name, and and after like 2 or 3 years they just let him go. And a lot of times it's, well, creative doesn't have anything for you, which is pretty lame too, because if your whole job is to be creative, then to say we have nothing for you means you're just not very creative then. You know, there's always got to be something. The notion of we're letting you go because creative doesn't have anything for you is a lame excuse. So that's a part of it too, but maybe just some other reason. You know, Chris Hero, for whatever reason, didn't really work out, didn't get to the main roster of WWE. Not sure why. He certainly has the talent. Maybe not the physique, at least not the last time I had checked. He didn't have the build. He might have gotten a little more built up since the last time I had seen him, because I hadn't seen Chris Hero in a number of years, and he wore an outfit that wasn't terribly flattering to his physique. It looks like he's gotten slightly more built than when he used to wear the long CM Punk style trunks and the sleeveless shirt and everything, which was his look on the independent scene. Just kind of scrolling through a few pictures here. But, you know, physique isn't always everything in WWE. Sometimes it's just weird reasons why you don't work. But it's possible that guys, you know, and you do have to be retrained to an extent to go to the larger federations, because some things that work on the independents don't always work in WWE. One of the things that they say is, hey, you have to learn to exaggerate your movements. It's much like the old silent movie actors and stage actors, where they're very expressive with their body language because they're playing on stage, and silent movies where they're very expressive because you're playing to a different thing, rather than the television where you don't need to be quite so expressive because it's a small screen, it's right there, lots of close-ups, cameras all there, when you're on a stage, you have to kind of play off to the last section of the crowd. And so WWE does that sort of thing where they say you have to be able to exaggerate your facials and your body language and everything and be able to play to the very last crowd in a 10,000 seat arena. It seems that WWE has had an attitude change as well. Indie guys were allowed to keep more of their own style than having every bit of it sucked out of them. They are letting some guys keep their gimmick, which is very rare, certainly. Very rare. It is a... guys like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk especially, and Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, and Finn Balor, and all these other guys. Finn Balor, who people may recognize him as from his stint in Ring of Honor, where he competed under the name Prince Devitt. But I think guys like Punk and Joe and especially Daniel Bryan are succeeding in spite of WWE, because it's not like they're really pushing them right now. They definitely didn't want someone like Punk and Bryan, and they kind of had to swallow their pride and be like, well, okay, well, I guess we're going to do it just because, this guy is so over and this is what the audience wants. We're going to have to do it. We don't have much of a choice because the crowd reaction is so vocal that we don't really have a choice but to do it. Same thing with Danielson, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan. They said, well, hey, we don't want him, and you're stupid for wanting Daniel Bryan because he's goat-faced, and he's short, and he's not huge. I mean, you really want someone who's huge. You don't want, Daniel Bryan. You don't want him. You really don't. You don't want him. But they didn't have a choice. They had to give him the belt because they just, kind of held him down, and, every time he got over with something, they quick changed around so he wouldn't be over. Yes, 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 and it was no, 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 and everyone is still over. And it was huge, and they didn't really have a choice, but it was kind of success in spite of all that. As far as some guys having a different style, I think that that kind of goes and falls back to the notion of bringing some of these guys in and understanding that they're recognizable faces, and understand that the reason you're hiring these guys is because they're recognizable. You can change their name to Kevin Owens and Finn Balor and Bryan and Daniel Bryan and all that, but no matter what, they still recognize who this guy is and what he's done elsewhere, so they have to at least give someone a chance to use some of his own kind of style. There's still a lot of stuff that they have to overcome and retrain, and certainly Vince McMahon doesn't like anyone who is from the independents, and they've had their announcers make fun of guys like Daniel Bryan. It's like, oh, he leads this alternative lifestyle. He's very strange. He doesn't eat meat. He's weird lifestyle. Oh, this alternative strange thing that he does. It's not like he's fucking dogs. He's a vegetarian. What's so unusual? You don't have to agree with this lifestyle. I didn't know that being a vegetarian was such a controversial lifestyle. I thought homosexuality is more controversial than a guy that doesn't eat meat. Okay, but it's such an alternative lifestyle. Oh my gosh, this guy goes and rapes sheep. But we perfectly agree with that lifestyle. That is a perfectly normal thing. To make out with goats, that's normal. But a vegetarian, my God, who would ever be a vegetarian? It's such an alternative lifestyle. And you don't have to agree with this very strange lifestyle that Daniel Bryan leads. It's very odd to not eat meat. Very weird. So you don't have to agree with it. It's very controversial, you know. Yeah, it's also kind of stupid, but whatever. Will it get better or worse when Triple H and Steph are 100% in charge because he is blaming the writers and McMahon's stubbornness? Well, this is kind of an unusual answer because obviously Triple H has his own ideas and he's kind of old school, but at the same time, he's got to appease Stephanie, who likes her father's kind of method of promoting because that's all she's ever been exposed to. Just like, Triple H, his body type has been what she's really been exposed to as like the most successful guys are the biggest, most jacked guys. So will things change? That really depends because right now WWE is very focused on the WWE. They're not focused on the wrestling or ratings or anything. They're focused on being a good corporate neighbor and making sure their stock prices are up. So we're going to trot out poor Connor and Connor's Cure, and we're going to try to incorporate that into the show to show what good corporate citizens we are. We're going to, have John Cena wear pink for breast cancer because WWE is all about being good corporate citizens and putting smiles on people's faces. And make sure you buy our stock in the network. And it's funny because, I think if the ratings keep going down, then Vince McMahon is going to be forced to have to do something. Typically, his reaction is, well, I'll try out someone else. Someone who was over before. But, way back in '94, during the steroid trial, he was faced with the fact that he didn't have a lot of his biggest guys. He didn't have Hogan and Warrior and all that, and he couldn't, because these guys were like obvious walking neon signs for possible steroid abuse, Warlord and that. So he went with guys like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and, smaller guys who were muscular but athletic and didn't look like they were obvious steroid abusers. They weren't bodybuilders and kind of let them introduce a new style. And he kept with that and kept with that and he kept with that and he did the same old because that's what Vince likes to do. If it works, don't change it. And even if it doesn't work, don't change it. And until he was faced with World Championship Wrestling making their live show Nitro. And then he had to go live because they start revealing the results of his taped shows. And then when they started doing things that kind of blurred the line between reality and fantasy, then he had to start doing things. And Vince Russo had to finally convince him to take a chance and shift away from this nice sanitary little kind of children's, 4-year-olds kind of thing where we make poopy jokes and stuff, and go to something that's a little more of an adult product and have guys who are cursing and, DX and that type of thing and have it be a more adult-oriented product and have WWF attitude and all that. And then as soon as he went public with his stock, he said, well, now, we're entertainment, so we're going to be children's entertainment once again. Except that, I don't even think Romper Room was as sanitized as this. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is practically R-rated when you compare it to what WWE is doing right now. I definitely see a change. Will it change any? Will the show change with Triple H and Stephanie in charge? I'm not sure. NXT is certainly doing kind of their own thing, and it's more based on straightforward wrestling. And there was a time when Paul Heyman was on SmackDown, and SmackDown was like kind of a wrestling show because Vince didn't really care about SmackDown. He was more interested in Raw. And so there's potential for some change. I don't know if there'll be like loads of change, because in the end, Triple H is kind of brought up on a WWE style, and he's not really going to change a whole lot because it's not like he's got the complete keys to the kingdom. He's got more of it than certainly Shane, but, you know, it has to be a McMahon in charge in the end. And that's so I'm not sure if there's going to be, like, you're all of a sudden going to see, like, Ring of Honor and Scientific Wrestling and a lack of stupid skits and no more authority. We're going to banish the authority and start working on wrestling, because I think in the end, you know, the cronies that are there are going to want to keep that old style that they've gone and gotten used to, which is, you know, we care about the brand, but not about the wrestling. You know, it's more important to talk about Connor's cure and how John Cena likes to wear pink and all that, more than it is about how, you know, the wrestling is, or talent, or, you know, backstage skits are very important. That is the most important. I mean, if I could sit there and say, what is the most important thing in wrestling? Backstage skits. Because there's nothing more hilarious than someone who's not an actor try to be an actor. It's hysterically funny. So I don't think you'll see large-scale change. There'll probably be some subtle changes done, but I'm not sure if there's going to be, like, huge mass changes in the way the product is done. So that's the answer. I don't think it's going to be huge, massive, wholesale changes. You're not going to see, you know, pure wrestling. It's still entertainment in the end, and that's still kind of the style that brought them there. And, you know, I don't think any of the stockholders pay the slightest bit of attention to the product, and sometimes I wonder if Vince McMahon himself pays attention to what he's doing. But maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. It's pretty clear the writing staff doesn't really do anything, and a lot of people just kind of write saying, well, this is what Vince McMahon wants, so this is what he's going to get. And yeah, stupid, and, you know, Vince hires his sitcom writers and such, and, you know, they write based on what McMahon wants. So will that change? I don't think so, because the way I see it is that the people that cowered before Vince McMahon, they're still really going to cower before Triple H and Stephanie. I don't think that Triple H and Stephanie will be as combative as Vince McMahon is, certainly, but I don't expect, like, huge wholesale changes to the product. So hopefully that answered the question, Rob. It's kind of a big question and a lot of big answers. But anyhow, let's move on. We're going to do a little bit of merchandise because there's so much cool stuff here that we have, and I want to go and bring it right up, and let's get to you know, the top, and let's talk about some merchandise that we have. And then we're going to start talking about some of our plugs and other friends. So we have soundtracks. We've got the WWE Tough Enough 2 soundtrack. Let's see what else we got in the way of wrestling music. Oh, we've got WWE Music Volume 2, 3, and 4. I think I've got the Music Volume 5. Looking at my inventory sheet here, but it's not all complete. And it's kind of hard to scroll through this and still kind of keep your train of thought going. So let's see. So I'm not necessarily, what else do we got that's wrestling in here in the way of wrestling music and soundtracks of wrestling? Yes, we got the 3, we've got 2, 3, and 5. We've got Tough Enough 2 soundtrack. That is factory sealed, actually, so that's a nice little thing with Tough Enough 2 to have. Let's see. VHS. I know everyone's like, oh, VHS, yeah, but, you know, as I've always said, not every single thing is going to be on the WWE network. Most of the stuff isn't going to be on the WWE network that you're going to find in these old Coliseum videos. And you really want to see it with, you know, re-edits and new voices. You want to hear the original stuff, and that's what we specialize in, the originals. So let's talk a little bit about some wrestling films here. Not just actual wrestling, taste, but actual movies about pro wrestling, which is pretty fun too. We've got the A&E Unreal Story of Pro Wrestling. We, of course, have the classic film that should have been up for several Academy Awards, starting off with, Best Actor, Hulk Hogan and No Holds Barred. And there's also the classic television franchise, Thunder in Paradise. There's Beyond the Mat, the Barry Blaustein documentary featuring Cactus Jack, Terry Funk, and Jake Roberts, and a couple of other wrestlers. A lot of guys I know. Michael Modest, a friend of mine. There's Mr. Nanny. Now, if you ever wanted a classic film right there, if you want to see the Hulkster in a tutu, this is the movie to get. Everyone wants to talk about, John Cena wearing pink. Well, let me tell you, Hulk Hogan was wearing pink long before John Cena. John Cena hadn't even thought about wrestling yet when Hulk Hogan was wearing pink. There's The Ultimate Weapon. No, it's not starring The Ultimate Warrior, but it does star Hulk Hogan, and it's Hulk Hogan with hair. So that's always something fun. There's The Mummy Returns. Yes, The Rock in The Mummy Returns. And, we got some other stuff. We got some really cool stuff here with The Rock. We've got The Scorpion King. And we've also got The Scorpion King, I think it's 2 or 3, with Batista. But here's something interesting. Now, this is a very fun limited edition copy of The Scorpion King with the DVD and the CD soundtrack. So that's really very cool. Very limited edition set right there. I don't want to talk too much about everything until we get, kind of get down the list here. We got the actual true classic film, The Princess Bride, with the late, great Andre the Giant. We've got several versions of that. We've got the Disney-style clamshell, and we've got the original slip sleeve, which is the regular cardboard box style of that. We've got Exposed, Pro Wrestling's Greatest Secrets, which is it's an NBC documentary when that stuff was all the rage. It's a hell of a lot of fun to watch. It's just a really classic thing. It's corny. Mike Modest was on there. Some other indie guys from the California area. Harley Race was on there. Just really classic in terms of how corny it was. Stuff like the wrestler stomps his foot when he hits you, and here's how to sell, and stuff that like maybe only your grandmother would not know. Really, really corny stuff, but really fun in that type of sense. A guy I'm going to give a shout out to a little later on here, Nicholas Wadier of Wadier Entertainment. Nick helped get this podcast on the air, and Nick probably bought Pro Wrestling's Greatest Secrets from me about 3 or 4 times. It's just such a great, great film, a lot of fun. Steve Austin's Greatest Hits. This was an As Shown on TV video, and it focused on Steve Austin's days with World Class Championship Wrestling and the USWA, some of his stuff when he kind of first debuted. And this came out right about the time that Steve Austin became Stone Cold. So it's one of those things like, famous artist, here's the tapes of this artist before he became famous, and we're putting it out to capitalize on the fact that he's famous now. So we're going to show you what it was like when he stunk up the place. Kind of like old pictures of Britney Spears and stuff like that. Oh, here's what she looked like before she was famous. And, now we're releasing it right at the height of her fame just to go and, show you what's going on. We do have some actual Britney Spears stuff. We have the Britney Spears Baby One More Time single. Not that it has anything to do with wrestling, but I just thought that you might be interested in that, some people. World Pro Wrestling from Japan, Bam Bam Bigelow and Friends, good thing for the Bam Bam. The Lumberjack match in tag team tandems is a 2 VHS set by the Universal Wrestling Federation. It is the second Universal Wrestling Federation, the Herb Abrams version, not the original version with Bill Watts. And that is like, some of their videotapes, and they got all the big stars, Cactus Jack and Paul Orndorff and Bob Orton Jr., Cowboy Bob Orton, and the Blackhearts and Luna Vachon, and so it's really interesting. And there's what was his name? Sonny Beach, and the Wild Thing, Steve Ray, and no, it's not Stevie Ray, not Stevie Ray of Harlem Heat. It's the Wild Thing, Steve Ray. And there's an interesting thing. It wasn't on this match. It was on part of the TV tapings earlier on. But it was kind of an interesting thing where Dr. Death Steve Williams was paid to break the nose of Steve Ray because the promoter Herb Abrams thought that Steve Ray was sleeping with his wife. True or not, don't know. Not really relevant, I guess. XPW, that was Extreme Pro Wrestling. And we've got virtually all their stuff. We have Damage Inc., We Wrestle, Baptized in Blood 2 and 3, The Revolution will be televised, and Go Funk Yourself. The Von Erich Front Row Ringside, one of very few tapes were made from World Class Championship Wrestling, and this was sort of a documentary on the Von Erichs. It's, by the Von Erichs, by World Class, so it's going to be kind of a glowing portrait of the Von Erichs. It's done just after David died and before Mike, so they do talk about the death of David Von Erich in there. It's a very rare, very hard to find tape. Very, very few people, because this was something that you bought direct from World Class through Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Very few people have it. I think I may have 2 copies if I'm lucky, but it's very, very scarce, very, very rare tape to find. And with World Class, demise, you can pretty much guarantee that WWE is certainly not going to talk all about the Von Erich family or anything like that. It's just not something they're interested in doing. One of my favorite things, a very special set from Heartland Wrestling Association, the Brian Pillman Memorial Show. It's a 5 VHS set. It covers 2 years of the Brian Pillman Memorial Show, highlights from 98 to 2000, a 2-tape set of the complete show in 2001, and 1 VHS with the Independent Showcase. When I was working territories in Wisconsin, the boys would love to see the Independent Showcase because they wanted to see some moves that they could steal and see if they recognized any guys they had worked with. And the Brian Pillman show was also famous for having World Championship Wrestling guys on the same card as World Wrestling Federation guys. They didn't compete in matches against each other because that was still forbidden, and but it was interesting to see these guys and see guys who would go on to greater fame later on. The American Wrestling Association did put out a few tapes of their own. And they put out a video of Sergeant Slaughter, and this was when he was in much better shape than he is in the WWF. They also have Super Clash Round 2 and Round 3 in 1985. This is the dying days of the promotion. We've got a few more AWA tapes. I know I just haven't gotten to inventorying them yet. World Championship Wrestling and the World Wrestling Federation, of course, we have the biggest library. Rumble in the Rising Sun, the Japan Super Show. That was the precursor to the first Super Brawl. This was the match with Flair against Tatsumi Fujinami. Ric Flair's NWA title was on the line, as well as the I think if I remember right, the WCW title was not on the line, but the NWA title was, or vice versa. The WCW title was on the line, but not the NWA one. But a very controversial finish that card, which led right into Super Brawl 1. Another tape that's really, really hard to find, that Rumble in the Rising Sun. A lot of the Super Brawls are very difficult to find. We got the Danger Zone, a tape hosted by Magnum and Missy. No, it's not about Paul E. Dangerously. It should have been, seeing how the Danger Zone was his talk show segment. I got a couple of best ofs. I got the best of the Bash at the Beach, the best of Slamboree, and the best of Fall Brawl War Games, and the best of the Great American Bash. Now, I really, really like the best of the Great American Bash the best. because they featured the great match where Steve McMichael joins the Horsemen. They had some really great stuff from when the Great American Bash was still kind of a touring show where they toured around the country. And it's also one of the earliest cards of the World Championship Wrestling. Fall Brawl and War Games had that match with Brian Pillman against Arn Anderson. That was really good. Slamboree, we also have Slamboree 93 along with the Best of Slamboree. You got the Legends Reunion, and the Best of Slamboree has a couple of those Legends Reunion matches on there too. So that was real good. In full pay-per-view, I have Bash at the Beach 1999. So that's late year. I think that's not the last year certainly, but close to the last year. Last year's, I should say, of World Championship Wrestling. There's New Blood on the Block, which is another very, very rare tape. It features Marcus Alexander Bagwell, Too Cold Scorpio, Brian Pillman, and someone else I can't think of off the top of my head. And it was focused on them as rising stars in World Championship Wrestling, kind of the young stars, next generation sort of thing. Another very rare tape. We have the Nitro Girl Swimsuit Calendar Spectacular, which was WCW's answer to like the Divas tapes. They wanted to feature the Nitro Girls in sort of sexy vignettes, little sexy video type of thing to go and sort of make use of them. And see, they trying to compete because they don't really have the Divas division or anything like that. So that was their answer to that. For what it's worth, you can probably find information online now, but at the time you couldn't. The girls' real names all Nitro Girls. Wrapping up with my WCW videos that I already have in inventory here. I've got a couple that aren't inventoried yet. We got the Superstar series. So we got Kevin Nash, the Outsider. I also have one version of that is actually autographed by Kevin Nash himself. I got the Superstar Series Goldberg and Diamond Dallas Page. Feel the Bang. So we're going to move on a little bit to Extreme Championship Wrestling, where I have Extreme Evolution and the Best of Cactus Jack. Extreme Evolution is new, brand new, factory sealed, and like the Best of Cactus Jack, it was from the brief series of ECW compilation tapes that Pioneer Home Video had put out. I believe this was all after ECW had collapsed. So let's see what else we got here. We're going down to the World Wrestling Federation now. And boy, we got a lot of that stuff. So in the Superstar series, we have Jesse the Body Ventura. Hell yeah, Stone Cold Saga continues. A couple of different versions of that. We got brand new factory sealed versions of that. Brand new factory sealed version of the Stone Cold Truth. Brand new factory sealed What? Brand new Austin vs. McMahon. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Lord of the Ring, which was his A&E biography. Because Stone Cold said so. We've got the first print, the second print, and the Canadian print. Each of them is different. We've got Austin 316 Uncensored. We've got two different variations of that. We've got the regular one, and then we've got the one that's part of the Attitude Collection. That's got the gray border. It says WWF Attitude Collection. We've got Andre the Giant, Larger Than Life, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Break Down the Walls, China Fitness, Jake the Snake Roberts, the original Coliseum video there. Some other Coliseum videos, Hulkamania 2 and Hulkamania 6, as well as the first Hulkamania. Hollywood, now you get into some of the more newer stuff here with Hollywood Hogan, Hulk Still Rules. We've got Superstars, the music video. The Hardy Boys, Leap of Faith, their video. The Rock, Just Bring It. The Rock, the People's Champ. The Rock, Know Your Role. We've got Triple H, The Game. Mick Foley, Hard Knocks and Cheap Pops. And yes, all this stuff is on VHS. Madman Unmasked, which was Mick Foley's A&E biography. The Three Faces of Foley. The Undertaker, The Phenom, Lita, It Just Feels Right. And Undertaker, The Phenom, and Lita, It Just Feels Right, both of them are new. We've got the Blockbuster Special, The Hardy Boys taking it to extremes. We've got before they were WWF superheroes, or excuse me, before they were WWF superstars, and wrestling superheroes, which is also new. We've got the Battle of the WWF Superstars, the second annual Battle of the WWF Superstars, and Battle of the WWF Superstars 92. King of the Ring 98, the pay-per-view, the famous Hell in a Cell between The Undertaker and Mankind. WrestleMania, we've got highlights of WrestleMania on Coliseum Video, brand new, very old, very rare. WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 3, 5, 7, 11. 11, we have one signed by Kevin Nash. We have X7, we've got WrestleMania 13. Best of WrestleMania 1 to 14, that's a WWF home video. We got WrestleMania 14 highlights, that was a Toys R Us special edition. Raw Hits, Best of Raw Volume 1, the Attitude Collection. In Your House Greatest Matches, WWF Greatest Matches Ever, Most Amazing Matches, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, we have that factory sealed. We've got the Eve of Destruction. We've got that from the Attitude Collection. Full pay-per-view, I've got No Mercy 2001, No Mercy 2003. I got No Way Out 2002 and 2004. Vengeance 2001. This is still all VHS. SummerSlam 01, SummerSlam 03 and 04. SummerSlam 2001 and 2003 are both brand new factory sealed. SummerSlam 2004, Backlash 99, and Backlash 02, Judgment Day 2000. So yes, lots and lots of merchandise here. Best of Survivor Series, we've got the regular version from WWF Home, well, they're both WWF Home Video, but one is the Attitude Collection, like I mentioned earlier. Survivor Series 1990, 1991, 1997, that's a very famous one, everyone knows that. Unforgiven in Your House, and Unforgiven 2001, the Royal Rumble from 91 and 2002, WWF Action, Insurrection, their UK-only pay-per-view, Insurrection 2000, Rebellion 1999 and 2001, Smack 'em Whack 'em, Funniest Moments from 1998, as opposed to the Funniest Moments when in the late 80s. There's Bloopers, Bleeps, and Body Slams. We have Super Tapes. We have Super Tape Volume 1. Super Tape Volume 2, 3, and 4. So we have a lot of them. All four of them. Bash in the USA, Global Warfare, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. We got plenty of that stuff. The Wrong Stuff and Three Little Hulks. We've also got some stuff that's coming in soon, I know of. That's going to be Volume 1, 2, and 3. I got WWF Hardcore, Hits and Disses, Brawl in a Family, World Tour 1991. That's factory sealed, old Coliseum videos featuring matches that were taped across the globe for Coliseum Video. Excuse me, WrestleFest. Mega Matches, Rampage 92, WrestleFest 91, WrestleFest 92, Invasion 92, different Invasion, not the same thing with the World Championship Wrestling Invasion. Invasion of the Body Slammers. We also have inside the WWF fan favorites, Best of the WWF. WWF fan favorites, there's two with the same title, but one is 2 hours, one is only an hour. Crunch Classic, Grudges, Gripes, and Grunts, the stuff that everyone likes. The Divas and Hedonism, Tropical Pleasures, Postcards from the Caribbean. That is all. I also have Sunny, that is autographed by Tammy herself. So that is always a good thing to have. But I've also got some more Diva stuff that I'm working on to get them in inventory, get them screened and everything. Most memorable matches of 1999, and that is also new and factory sealed. In Japan, we have Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. We have the stuff from Tokyo Pop, which was their U.S. distributor, so it's The Best of Masato Tanaka, Rule the Asylum, Total Carnage, The Legend Dawns, The Flying Assassin, Ring of Torture, Final Encounter, Torn to Shreds, King of the Deathmatch, which was with Mick Foley, and Yokohama Deathmatch, and War of Attrition. We have Adrian Serrano. If you're familiar with independent wrestling, you know Adrian Serrano. He's a mixed martial arts fighter. He's a pro wrestler, mainly around the Wisconsin area. But he has done some stuff. He produced his own videotape, so we have that. Battlecade, which is sort of a no-holds-barred fighting, not unlike the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Extreme Fighting, the Ultimate Battlecade, that was the first one. The original UFC, the original Ultimate Fighting Championship, we have that. We had the original Ultimate Fighting Championship on VHS, the complete set that goes all the way from 1 to 22, plus Ultimate Brazil, Night of Champions, Ultimate 1 and 2, Ultimate Shamrock, Ultimate, a lot. Let's just leave it at that. The Unauthorized Heart of the Rock, which was a like a thing with other wrestling personalities talking about The Rock. Very interesting thing there. In the world of independent wrestling, we have The Best of Justin Cage, who was a trainee of the underwear model Eric Priest. So if you're familiar with him, then you should recognize Justin Cage. He might be on some other stuff we may have available from independents as we, get some more collections in. Unfortunately, a lot of these independent promotions, it's hard to get their videos because they just don't produce them. They just stop producing them when they really have the opportunity to make money with it. Which brings me to my next topic of they really need, if you're an independent federation, you should really go and make sure that that you have a way to monetize your library even though the promotion is gone. And you can partner with us to do that. You can go ahead and contact us at orders at SF, actually, excuse me, I take that back. Contact us at distribution at sfpinchicago.com. And, contact us and say, hey, if we don't have it, we don't have our federation, anymore. And then we can work on distributing your stuff even after your wrestling promotion is gone. So that's always a nice thing to have. You should, make sure that if you have your tapes and you have your library, we can continue to distribute for your library even after your promotion is gone. We can still distribute for you. So that's email us at distribution at sfpinchicago.com, and we will go and talk with you about potentially keeping your video library going even after you're gone. Rickson Gracie, Choke. I'm actually really interested in some stuff with the Gracies. The Gracies, of course, are legends in Brazil. We also have some shoot interviews and some more stuff with RF Video. Don Morocco, Cowboy Bob Orton, Bobby Heenan, and Shawn Michaels. We got barbed wire, scaffolds, and ladders, the extreme matches. We've got an RF Video of the best of Cactus Jack and ECW. We got the best of Steve Austin before Stone Cold said so. And the ECW World Tag Team Tournament in New York City in 2000. So that's the majority of our videos from wrestling and stuff, and now we move a little bit forward to some DVDs, and we'll move on to some other cool stuff. Universal Soldier: The Return, Race to Witch Mountain, that had The Rock in there as well. Universal Soldier: The Return, Walking Tall, The Tooth Fairy, The Rundown, of course, Hitman Hart Wrestling with Shadows. Now, what's really important about this is the 2 DVD set. It had The Life and Death of Owen Hart, which is the A&E biography of Owen Hart. And we had the original lobby posters that were in theaters. We got this direct from the distributor. We're the only ones that have these posters. So with each purchase of this DVD set, which is $35 in the U.S., shipping is free, shipping's thrown in there, you get the 2 posters and the factory sealed 2 DVD sets. That's one of our special items right along with the Brian Pillman Memorial Show. We got Nacho Libre with Jack Black, Ready to Rumble, a classic film in terms of humor. And we've got that factory sealed as well. Ready to Rumble is just fantastic. Shows some of the Nitro Girls, The Rock and Gridiron Gang, Beat Down, which is a mixed martial arts movie. It does have some UFC stars in there. Undisputed 3, Redemption, Behind Enemy Lines, those WWE films that WWE works with. See No Evil with Kane, The Scorpion King, The Hammer, the biography of Matt Hamill. Hunt to Kill, which is Steve Austin. We also have a 4-film set with Steve Austin that is Hunt to Kill and a few others. I'd have to look at a different sheet for what that is. We've got Ninjas Creed and Faster with The Rock and Billy Bob Thornton, and Ninjas Creed is with Gail Kim. So that's kind of interesting. We have The Wrestler. We actually have The Wrestler Canadian version. We have The Wrestler US, and we've got The Wrestler, the rental exclusive. We have The Fighter, Warrior, and Circle of Pain, and all those movies are mixed martial arts movies about mixed martial arts. Warrior is not about the Ultimate Warrior. It is a mixed martial arts style of movie. Circle of Pain is with Kimbo Slice. So let's see what else we got here. 12 Rounds, Beyond the Mat, Hijacked, which is a Randy Couture film. Inside Out and Down for the Count are also mixed martial arts films. Beyond the Mat, Southland Tales, the DVD with The Rock and Sarah Michelle Gellar, and some other people. Death from Above, which is Sid Vicious and Kurt Angle in there. 12 Rounds in the Marine 2. Wrestling Gold Special Edition, which is a really interesting set of movies. We got Grandmaster of Wrestling, First Blood Volume 1, some independents, old school stuff. Mike Graham's The Best of The Best of Classic Championship Wrestling. We also have some great Ring of Honor DVDs, real old Ring of Honor stuff, Unscripted in 02, Undeniable and Driven, World's Finest, The Best of Bryan Danielson, Tag Team Excellent, The Best of the Briscoe Brothers, All-Star Extravaganza 3, Battle of St. Paul, Battle of the Icons, Black Friday Fallout, Chicago Spectacular, Night 1 and 2, Dedicated and Dethroned, Fifth Year Festival in Chicago, Dayton, Liverpool, New York City, Philadelphia, Philly, and the finale. We have Fighting Spirit, Final Battle, Good Times, Great Memories, Honor Reclaims, Boston, International Challenge, Reborn Again, Respect is Earned, Supercard of Honor, The Bitter End, This Means War 2, and we've actually got a whole bunch more Ring of Honor coming real soon because they're all been screened and we just need to add them into the inventory here. But there's a whole lot more, and I can get you a complete list of all the Ring of Honor stuff as well as this. We have our catalog coming out really soon. So we can get you all this stuff, so you don't need to worry about it. I'm just kind of scrolling through the stuff really quick. The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, Jake Roberts' Pick Your Poison, Hulk Hogan, Hulk Still Rules, Unreleased Collector Season, The Ultimate Anthology, Brock Lesnar, Here Comes the Pain, another rarity, Chris Benoit, Hard Knocks, Chris Benoit story. That's DVD and VHS as well. Bret Hart, Hitman Hart, Best There Is, Best There Was, Best There Ever Will Be. We have one that is autographed by Bret the Hitman Hart himself. Born to Controversy, the Roddy Piper story. That is also autographed by Roddy Piper. Edge, Decade of Decadence. Viva la Raza, The Legacy of Eddie Guerrero, Cheating Death, Stealing Life. Rey Mysterio, The Ultimate Ric Flair Collection. The Rock, The Most Electrifying Man in Sports Entertainment. Triple H, King of Kings. The Legacy of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Macho Madness, the Randy Savage Ultimate Collection, Breaking the Code, the Behind the Walls of Chris Jericho, Trish Stratus, 100% Stratisfaction, John Morrison Rockstar, Shawn Michaels Heartbreaking Triumph, Mick Foley's Great Hits and Misses, Tombstone, The Undertaker's Deadliest Matches, The History of The Undertaker, McMahon, Goldberg, The Ultimate Collection, Greatest Superstars of WrestleMania, WrestleMania 19, WrestleMania 22, WrestleMania 30, No Way Out, 2003, 4, 6, and 8, Backlash 04 and 5. And again, let me stress there's a lot more coming out that has yet to be put into my inventory. I've got some the Monday Night Wars and Survivor Series and Mick Foley and Shawn Michaels' Boyhood Dream and some other really great stuff. Royal Rumble, just lots of cool stuff here, and at great prices here. Royal Rumble, Unforgiven, SummerSlam, 2002, 4, 5, 7, and 12. The Best of Survivor Series, 87 to 97. Unforgiven, 06, 7, and 8. The Elimination Chamber in 13. Royal Rumble, 2003, 4, 7, and 9. Judgment Day, 03 and 07. The Great American Bash, 04 and 08. Breaking Point, 09. Bad Blood, 03. Vengeance, 06. 2011, Night of Champions. Armageddon, 2003 and 4. The Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony, 2004. Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, 2012. The Best of the Intercontinental Championship and the History of the Intercontinental Championship, 2 different DVDs. The Ladder Match, The Rise and Fall of ECW, ECW One Night Stand, WWE Legendary Moments, Life and Times, 3 disc set here, Life and Times of Mr. Perfect, Rise and Fall of WCW, and the Dusty Rhodes story. These are just the documentary portions of it all, not all the extras. The Triumph and Tragedy of World Class Championship Wrestling, the greatest wrestling stars of the 80s and 90s, greatest superstars of the 21st century, Raw, The Beginning, Best of Seasons 1 and 2, Best of SmackDown 10th Anniversary, Allied Powers, Satan's Prison, the Anthology of the Elimination Chamber, Allied Powers, the world's greatest tag team, Hell in a Cell, the greatest Hell in a Cell matches, WWE Tag Classics, I talked about this in my last podcast. This is the usually the series they have in Great Britain, so it's really kind of cool here. The Power Series of Triple H, it's a workout tape of Triple H. Total Nonstop Action, I have Bound for Glory 4 and Genesis 2006. Hot August Fights of the Pro Wrestling Iron, the documentary Glow, The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and that is actually autographed by several of the Glow girls. Who's that autograph by? I want to kind of check this out here, see if I have my notes on that. It's autographed by Little Egypt, Hollywood, Lightning, Roxy Astor, Tulsa, and MTV, Melody Trouble Vixen. I met all these lovely ladies at the Cauliflower Alley Club. And speaking of the Cauliflower Alley Club, we've got their program from the Cauliflower Alley Club, which has a flyer from Shadowfire Promotions, your Chicago source for wrestling. Pretty neat, huh? We've got the International Fight League DVD, World Premiere, Road to the Championship. I think I got some more of their stuff. Pride Fighting Championship, I've got Clash of the Titans. I got Pride 27 Inferno. I've got Championship Chaos 2 and Cold Fury 3, box set there. Bushido Volume 5. I've got the Pride Fighting Legacy Volumes 4 and 5. Actually, no, I don't. Those sold. My bad. Those 2 sold. Look at my notes here. They sold. So we need to take care of that because those sold. Yes, those things sold. My bad. UFC on DVD. A lot of that. So 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 7, 58, 59, 60, 61, 61 through all of them, 69, 70, 71, 72, 77. I probably got a few others. I got 84, 86, 90, 139, 143, 4, 5, 149, 150, 152, 153, 154. A lot of UFC here. Ultimate Iceman, Ultimate Comebacks, Ultimate Knockouts 3 and 4. I got UFC Classics, UFC Hits. A lot of good stuff there. Combat Zone Wrestling, if you're into kind of a blood and guts sort of thing, like Extreme Pro Wrestling. This is CZW, 7 Year Strong. I've got the Wildman of Wrestling Collection, Backbreakers and Broken Bones, Classic Superstars of Wrestling, Steve Austin and Cactus Jack, as well as Booker T. Ultimate Wrestling, Jeff Jarrett in Your Face, Steve Austin, Master of Mayhem. Again, all these things are early footage of these guys from Global, from World Class Championship Wrestling, from the USWA, the United States Wrestling Association. So early days of these guys, you're probably not going to see a lot of this stuff on the WWE Network anytime in the near future, because it doesn't fit WWE's vision of what they like a wrestling show to be. The Gladiator Challenge and the Ultimate Athlete Fight and Tap Out Battlecade. So all this stuff is a DVD of mixed martial arts. We've got Sting's little documentary, The Moment of Truth. See No Evil and The Condemned on Blu-ray and factory sealed. Mankind and Kane Zippo lighters, brand new Zippo lighters, good deal there. I've got books. I've got Journey into Darkness, The Unauthorized History of Kane. Mick Foley, Have a Nice Day. Foley is good. I also have Countdown to Lockdown, autographed by Mick himself. Rey Mysterio, Behind the Mask, Superstar Billy Graham's book, 20 Years Too Soon. I've also got some condensed version of Superstar Graham, Jerry Lawler's Good to Be King, and Fred Blassie's Listen to Pencil Neck Geeks. Mad Jeff Hardy's book exists to inspire. It's true, it's true. WCW had 3 paperbacks, more geared toward a younger audience. Battling Brawlers, Grappling Greats, and Mighty Matchups. I'm Next, Goldberg's book, Martha Hart's book, The Life and Death of Owen Hart. Very good book there. Let's see, anything else that we've got in the way of good wrestling reads here? I think I got all my good wrestling reads pretty much done. So let me just kind of quick scroll through and see. Oh, we got Blood in the Cage, Mixed Martial Arts, Pat Miletich and the Furious Rise of the UFC. So that's a really good book too. I have that. Let's see, we got anything else in the way of like wrestling magazines or anything? I got a couple of Maxims, but I don't know who's on the cover, but I know the one of them was Ronda Rousey. But I don't think, we got some video games, got some good video games here. I talked earlier about the 50th anniversary reunion program of the Cauliflower Alley Club. We also have mini magazines that the WWE put out in, I think, like 2003 or 2005 with Stacy Keibler, Kurt Angle, and The Rock. In the way of video games, I've got some Legends of Wrestling 1 and 2 for Xbox. I've got WrestleMania Challenge and WrestleMania for the Nintendo the Nintendo Entertainment System. Warzone for PlayStation. SmackDown Just Bring It for PS2. SmackDown vs. Raw 09 for PlayStation 2. SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. And that's also for PlayStation 2. I also have TNA Impact and SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 for PlayStation 3. I have a very interesting martial arts basics jiu-jitsu kind of cards describing and illustrating the various mixed martial arts holds for jiu-jitsu by Kevin Bell. Let's see, I think anything else is really good in here. I've got the ball cap from NWA Wisconsin, the defunct federation in Wisconsin. Obviously, Green Bay, worked with them for a long time. Sleeveless t-shirt of Kevin Nash. A classic Hulk Hogan backpack from probably about 1986, I want to say. So some good stuff there and a lot of more good stuff to come. Plenty more to come of that. So let's start wrapping up this podcast now that we're at about 2 hours here. We've got some special guests coming to the show soon. I just got to coordinate schedules. We're going to have Sunny the California Girl. We're going to kind of catch up with what she's doing. I missed out on talking to her at the Cauliflower Alley Club. She's only there the one day. We've got Daniel Puder and his new charity, My Life, My Power. And you can go to Amazon, and if you will shop through Amazon Smile, you go to smile.amazon.com/ch/45-409-5213, bookmark it, and when you shop through there, Amazon's going to donate 0.5% of your purchase price to My Life, My Power World, Inc. So that's going to support Daniel Puder and his charity, Undefeated Mixed Martial Artist, Undefeated Pro Wrestler. So definitely support him. Also, we're going to have Roxy Astor. Roxy Astor from Glow. She's got a brand new project that is called the Afterglow Fan Party, and it's sort of an unscripted It's an unscripted look at the Glow Girls and what they're doing afterwards, after Glow, literally after Glow. You've got all the fans that are there and everything. Big Q&A and special guests, and it's really cool. They have Mondo Guerrero, who trained original Glow Girls, and a lot of cool stuff. And also, she's also sponsoring the Afterglow Party at Sea. It's from Carnival Cruise Lines. It's next year. It's May 22nd through, it's a 4-day trip going to Baja, Mexico from Long Beach, Catalina, and Ensenada. So you're going to be on Carnival cruise ship with the Glow Girls, 11 of the original Glow Girls. So if you missed the Afterglow fan party the first time, well, you can get the DVD of the Afterglow fan party, and you can also see them on this Carnival Cruise Line. Now, let me talk real briefly about the Afterglow fan party DVD, because that's really, really special. That's really, really special because each DVD is going to be individually autographed by Roxy Astor. So, you order it from us, and the DVD is shipped to you, and it's got Roxy's autograph, individually autographed by Roxy Astor, and we're also looking to get some stuff with from Lightning, Cheryl Russa. We're hoping to get some stuff from her real soon, too. So we've been in talks back and forth. And now you get with the Afterglow fan party. Rooms are roughly about $400 to $600, roughly, more or less. You're in Long Beach, California. Depart Long Beach to Catalina, and then Ensenada, Mexico. You're at sea Wednesday, the 25th of May, and then you return to Long Beach on Thursday, the 26th of May. There's some room left, not a whole ton. You get a town hall-style panel discussion with the Glow Girls, cocktail party, photo and autograph sessions, special gift if you book on the website that I'm about to give to you, and DJ Tricky Kid, and a lot more surprises. And with the Glow Girls, you can never be too sure what they're planning. So, let me tell you this website to go to book your travel. It's aovacations.com/rw/cruise/5222. So aovacations.com/rw/cruise/5222. Also, we've gone through all the merch. Let's talk about Chiro One. They're chiropractors. Chiropractors are not quacks or doctors, just the same. And they also have, they help me out a whole lot, and they can help you, wrestler, fighter, any sort of athlete. They can help you out, put you back together. Looks like I owe some people a beer. Well, looks like I owe you folks a beer here. That's what I get for going and recording and keeping my phone on. Anyway, there's not that many people listening, so I can afford a round of beers for all y'all. But yeah, go and see your local chiropractor. You can go to chiro1.net. They can hopefully help put you back together because they put me back together. That's why I give them this little plug, this little shout out. Kimberly Cormican, good friend of mine. You can catch her original book called Whatever Makes You Blind. And you can check out digital editions for the Amazon Kindle and some other e-readers. Just Google either K.D. Cormican, like K.D., like Katie Lang, not Katie like Katie Heigl, and that's Cormican, or you can just look up Whatever Makes You Blind. You can find it that way. Some other buddies of mine, the Wind Gypsies. They're a three-piece band that does covers and original tunes all around Illinois here. They're good friends of mine. We have bassist Ray Class, guitarist Nick Laramie, and drummer Neil Holmquist, and these guys have been on stage with lots of superstars in music, and you got to check them out. They've got a CD out right now. It's called Free to Ride Again. But you got to check these guys out. They're really something to listen to. Great music there. Nicholas Wadier of Wadier Entertainment. He's got a podcast called Technopoly 411. And he's on Twitter with Technopoly 411. You can check out his website at technopoly411.com. We've got links to all that stuff on our links page at sfpinchicago.com, our website. We are working on getting our catalog uploaded to the website, so that is why our catalog is not up there. It is listed as coming soon. It takes a long time to do this because I've still got boxes of merchandise here that are still to come. If you're in Europe, we have videos and DVDs in the UK PAL format for you as well. But Nick helped us out with this podcast, getting everything set, so make sure to Google up Technopoly 411, Nicholas Waudier, Waudier Entertainment. That's Wautier. So make sure and check him out. If you want to comment on this podcast or have anything relating to this podcast, you can email us at podcast@sfpinchicago.com. Anything else, you can email us if you want to make an order. You can email us at, or have questions about an order. You can email us at orders@sfpinchicago.com. If you're a wrestling promotion or a mixed martial arts promotion or a wrestler or a fighter that has a question about having your merchandise distributed through us, you can email us at distribution@sfpinchicago.com. And you can actually go to distribution.sfpinchicago.com/vendors-new.htm, and that will give you kind of the lowdown on getting your stuff distributed with Shadowfire Promotions. So that is all of our emails there. You can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/sfpinchicago. You can also check us out on twitter.com at sfpinchicago. And I think that's about it. Twitter, you can also find us on LinkedIn or Facebook, Twitter, and I think that's just about it. You can check out, we have a YouTube channel. You can check out all the archived podcasts and some original video clips and stuff that we have. And that's youtube.com/ that also is youtube.com/sfpinchicago. So, make sure to look us up on all those little social networks and stuff. And just Google Shadowfire Promotions if I skipped anything. But anyway, check us all out, and we will see you next time, front row ringside.